This video was brought to you by Markus Bil, Elbilmek, ABRP Planner, Stormberg, Kempower and Bilkomponenter. Yo, what's up? A couple of days ago, you probably heard in the news that Tibber came up with something called Grid Rewards. You can make money on your EV while plugged in. You know, that sounds too good to be true, right? It must be a scam. Well, it actually not a scam. I can tell you more about this. And whatever website you heard about this, you know, they mostly just took the press release and then wrote an article about this. I had contact with Tibber and I had lots of questions. And we're going to dig deeper and find out more about what Grid Reward is. So you'll probably notice also that this video is sponsored by Tibber. Yeah, I would have made this video anyway, and then they approached me and asked me if I want to make a video. I said, well, why not? If I'm going to make this video anyway and I get paid for it, that's a win-win. Grid Reward is basically you use every car out there connected in Tibber's system as like a virtual power plant. That's what it means. So you guys in my channel, you are quite smart and you are into this, you know what it is. So I think it's no need for me to repeat too much of this, but at least they say that you can make roughly 1200 NOK per year. So it's not that much. 1200 NOK is a little bit over 100 euros. So that means only 10 euros per month. But I mean, it is something. And also in the beginning, they will only use electric cars that also only supports the charging stations that they support, like EC and Subtech. I don't remember which other ones. But eventually, over time, they're going to communicate directly with the cars. So the way it works today is that, you know, they have communication via, for example, EC that I have behind here. They can start and stop. They send signal to the EC to start and stop. But then in the future, they can communicate directly to the car, just like you can start and stop charging from the app on the Tesla, for example. And then that means that you can be plugged into anything on the wall. It can even be Shuku, whatever, they don't care directly. Yeah. So, and then what else? Yeah, and also in the future, they're also going to include other things that consumes energy, like smart ovens, smart heat pumps, smart water heater, or anything really that is connected that consumes significant amount of energy and that is connected to the internet. So yeah, you will understand maybe more eventually when I dig deeper into this. But so that is the whole thing about Grid Reward. And then I had lots of questions I sent over to Tibber. And then they came with many good replies. So let's see. This is the content that you most likely only get in this channel, not in whatever other places you read about Grid Rewards. So first question is, do you make more money if you have a big battery versus a small battery? And they say yes, because the more you are available to help the grid, the more the chance that you'll be involved in Grid Reward events. And then the more you help the grid, then the more you get paid. So it's like they say you are more likely to be available with a larger battery. Yeah, you have more space there. So, okay, all right. And the next question is, do you earn more if the car's charging station or whatever is available? If the car or the charging station or your house is possible to charge at, for example, 11 kilowatt like here, versus if you only have 3.7 kilowatt. They say no, the size of the battery is a more important factor and the energy is more important than power. Well, okay, I'm not sure how to interpret this because energy and power, they are somewhat connected. So but I'm not going to do my own interpretation of this. It's just that, okay, at least they claim that power is not important. Well, in that case, maybe I'll just dial it down to, well, for me, the EC, at least I have three-phase, so the EC can then dial down to 7 amp, which is around 5 kilowatt. Yeah, so okay, but anyway, you guys can do the speculation in the comment section. Next question, do you earn more if more cars are connected? For example, 2 times 5 kilowatt versus just 1 times 10 kilowatt. Well, they say the same as the previous question. So if more energy is available, then it will have. So it sounds to me like maybe they don't care too much about the power, but they care about energy to help. Okay, this is a bit, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I need to discuss this. I don't know what you guys think, but to me, it sounds like both energy and power is available. which means that, you know, for example, in my house, I have three Tibber, I have three Easy, and I have 10 kilowatt on each of them, so that's 30 kilowatt available. And if I plug in 3 cars there, I dial them up to 10 kilowatt each, sounds to me like that's the way to make the most money, versus connect 3 cars to my Easy and then dial them down to 5 kilowatt each. I'm not sure. We need to test this also. This is just the first video. There'll be an update, a follow-up video in a couple of months after I've tested this and see what I find out. Okay, and the next question is, can you make more money on grid reward without smart charging active? Let's say if in this Tesla, I have relatively big battery. If I just leave it at 50% so that I have enough juice in case I need to use the car, but then not charge it to whatever charge level I set it to. Let's say I don't want to charge it to 80%, right? I just leave it at 50%, just make it connected, and then make it available for grid reward. Can I just keep making money on this car while I'm busy testing another car anyway? Okay, the answer is you must have a smart charging active for grid reward to work. Okay, maybe because I'm wondering if this is my own speculation, if the smart charging has some logic to be able to start and stop charging, and then if you don't have smart charging, then Tibber cannot control, for now, the Easy box. So yeah, but they say though you can set no departure day, and then they will use the forecasted. Tibber will use the forecasted prices for the next 7 days. And charging will more likely be due to grid reward only. Okay, that sounds like a plan. Since there might be many cars in your household, and then if there's one car that you don't use that frequently, you can just camp it with smart charging on, but then not. Yeah, and then you have grid reward active, and you're just farming grid reward in it. I don't know, man. Okay. And the next question is, how long does it charge each time grid reward is active? I mean, is it just a couple of seconds or is it longer? Well, they say at least 10 to 15 minutes at a time, but it can be up to several hours. Okay, well, nice to know. But also that also means that if you set it to 11 kilowatt, then actually after a couple of hours, you actually eat up a big chunk of the battery, but you should also get more reward versus if it's just 10, 15 minutes. And then also this means that if you have I don't know, maybe not a Leaf, but something small like a classic Ioniq, right, with 32 amp, then after just a couple of hours, then you already used up the available charging in there. Because one thing I need to point out there is that the whole grid reward, the whole system here, the whole virtual power plant that Tibber has now, it only works by pulling power. We are pulling power out from the plug. It's not vehicle to grid. It's not vehicle to load. We cannot push power back. So in case they need something to make this work. Yeah, I also heard that they are basing it on grid balancing. Sorry. They are basing this on frequency balancing. There might be other stuff they also use, but frequency balancing in short is that they want the frequency in the grid in Norway to be around 50 hertz. This is controlled by Statnett, that owns the whole system here. And then actually Statnett until now, probably still, they are paying big industries, big power-hungry industries to control or to shut off or start lots of power right in the industry to help control the grid. But now it seems like Tibber can be one of them to receive the money instead and then give some of that to you guys, me. But yeah, so the whole frequency is that once the frequency goes a bit too high, then if they put load on it, then the frequency will lower. So stuff like all the devices we have in our homes are based on 50 hertz. So if the frequency is too high or too low, then those devices, they might fail to operate. So that's the whole thing. And then what about other stuff? Well, yeah, also excess electricity. Yeah, they also do, try to chew away excess electricity when in the midday not many people are using electricity, and then we have lots of solar or wind, then, you actually get paid for using electricity. You guys probably know that. But okay, so, And then, yeah, since this whole reward thing here is actually deducted from your bill, so I'm wondering, well, does it mean that this is tax-free? If you're making lots of money, this is a small amount anyway, do you have to also supply it as tax? But I didn't get a clear answer there. I'm still awaiting it. But they say that this grid reward is VAT inclusive, so which means that it is above VAT line and then more beneficial for users. Okay. And then also at my home, I have peak control in Tibber active. So peak control will then throttle the whole input to the whole house to prevent me from spending too much power. Remember, power, not energy. Power is kilowatt, energy is kilowatt hour. In Norway, we have to pay for kilowatt hour like everywhere else, but we also have kilowatt, they call it power tariff. So the more power I suck, the more expensive it becomes. And I have 43 kilowatt into the house, but most times I try to stay within roughly 10-15 kilowatt. If I go below, especially if I go above around 25 kilowatt, it becomes quite expensive, a monthly fee that kicks in like a punishment. So you want to stay below some of that. And then here, so my concern is that if you enable, if you connect lots of cars, and then they suddenly like, oh, we have a grid reward available. What's going to happen then? Will it just suck too much power? Well, at least peak control will be able to limit grid reward, but that sounds to me like you also actually limiting how much you can make on grid reward. But here we also have another question, another topic for discussion is går vinninga opp I spinninga, which means that the money you make on grid reward, if you're lucky to get selected at one time slot, is that going to be eaten up by the increased peak? It could be, because if you're making just a couple of hundred NOK extra, or maybe just less than 100 NOK on that segment, right? Or probably even less, but then it kicks in the massive peak power thing, and then suddenly you have to pay 500 NOK extra, or maybe 1,000 NOK extra. So yeah, it sounds to me like you don't want to go crazy on the power to control. Yeah, okay. Yeah, also another question is how is frequency balancing done traditionally in Norway? And what about in other countries? Well, at least in Norway, they are done with hydropower plants. So hydropower is quite good because you can start and stop the flow relatively fast versus other systems, coal power plants or nuclear, then it might have a bigger lag. But you can already see with this system here, with Tibber's virtual power plant, we are talking about just milliseconds of delay before a shit ton of cars just click, and then several megawatt is turned on or off as they need. They also mentioned that grid reward is more than just frequency balancing. Tibber, they are also active in energy markets, other balancing markets, and local flexibility markets. So they didn't provide more information than that. And also, the next question is, okay, when you have this frequency balancing, will it then put more strain to the grid, more strain than usual? Well, they claim it is the opposite. These are services that support the grid. Okay, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but okay. So I suppose if they actually, well, that kind of makes sense, because if you're doing this on peak hour, let's say around 4 in the afternoon when everyone is trying to cook food or whatever, they spend lots of energy, then they shave off those cars. You can just, okay, these cars is not critical that they charge exactly around 4 in the afternoon, so just wait half an hour, 1 hour. That makes sense, yeah. So you minimize the load, but then you push the load over to time when it's not that active, for example at night or midday. So you want to even out the load. That actually makes sense. Yeah, so you're doing the grid a favor. Yeah, that makes sense. Will we be able to see in the app when the car is used for frequency balancing? Yes, they will be there. And then, but it will be quite rare. It's not like it's going to happen every day, I think. Okay, that's my own words. If the grid reward kicks in right on the time when the electricity is very expensive, isn't that going to be bad? Because you're then suddenly buying expensive electricity. Well, it can actually charge when the spot price is expensive, but at least for grid reward for the users, they don't pay that price. they actually pay a compensated price, a lower price, plus the grid reward bonus or profit on top of that. Okay, not too much more detail about that, but yeah, that is at least the answer I got. And also, can plug-in hybrids make money on grid reward? Yes, they say yes. So yeah, plug-in hybrids, they are typically equipped with somewhere between 16 and 32 amp chargers, I think. Yeah, so okay, it's only 3.7 or 7.4 kilowatts, but it still helps, and you can still make money on your plug-in hybrid. But as we discussed before, plug-in hybrids, they have smaller battery, which means that, you know, like a 10 20 kilowatt hour, so you might not get that much, but at least you'll be milking something for your fossil car, right? I think that's it. So I try to dive deep into this, but I'm open for more questions. If you guys have more questions, please comment. I will write them down if they're very interesting, and then I might make a follow-up video with more questions, because we have a connection with Tibber here. We can ask them directly about this. So that's going to be it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, thank you for watching, and talk to you later.